Hello everyone, so I thought I'd put in a disclaimer at the start of this video saying that this video isn't necessarily a let's play per se, at least not in the traditional sense. This video is more of a critical look on the new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon remake of the first games that's coming out on the Switch very soon, by playing the demo that came out yesterday or the day before. It's the 11th that I'm recording this, so I think it was 2 days ago. And for me specifically, I specialize in 3D creation or art, and more specifically I specialize in 3D animation, but I also know some things about game development, 3D model making, materials and shaders, and how you render things on screen, stuff like that. So I'll be looking at the game with these things in mind. I'm going to be very critical of the game. I'm recording this after the fact, and yeah, I was actually pretty negative, more than I thought I would. But let me just say that me being negative isn't necessarily a sign of me actually hating the game. I'm just being very critical of it, because I love Pokemon, but I also love Pokemon Mystery Dungeon a lot more. The first two Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, those being Blue and Red Rescue Team, one or the other, as well as the second game in the series being Explorers of Darkness, Time, and Sky. I love both of those games to death, and given how much I love the series in general, I'm going to be one of their harshest critics. I want good things to come from the series. And yes, I am going to be pretty critical. I do look forward to the game, I do plan on getting it. Just don't be too surprised if you see some negativity. It's not that I am hating on the game, it is more so a critique of the game. Even if I am blunt with it. Being blunt is sort of my style when it comes to critiquing. But there are some really, really good things with this remake as well. I just never got to really talk about that nearly as much because I got distracted with so many weird oddities in the game, and some of the visuals looked a bit weird. You'll see that in the video, so I don't need to elaborate on that right now. But anyway, with that disclaimer out of the way, I hope you enjoy the video. Just remember, this is a very critical video, and not necessarily a let's play in the traditional sense. These remixes are very faithful. I think there's some DS sound bites in there, but it's not entirely that. There's some more modern sound bites in there, but it's still very much like how the original soundtrack sounded on the DS. I'm not sure how much inspiration they took from the GBA game. The soundtrack was very similar on the GBA, but obviously the sound bites are completely different. It's a different sound chip. Yeah, it has its own feel to it. And I don't know if that's quite what this game is trying to go after, but you'll see. So the quiz is back. I think they removed that in the later games. Cheerful? Nah, probably not. I can say I like them. Sure. Definitely with others. I don't like going places without people around me. I can't travel alone. I do like being alone, but like not traveling alone. That's completely different. Just sitting around and relaxing, sure. This is a very strange question. I don't know anyone who wouldn't just scream and run. Turn into the police, of course. I am male. Psyduck. That's kind of funny, actually. So, okay, I see what they're doing here. When I first saw screenshots of this game, I was thinking... I saw this screenshot where you can, like, choose your Pokemon. So I was kind of a little upset at that, because one of the main things I didn't like about the newer dungeon games is that you always got to choose your Pokemon that you spawned as. Like, you didn't have a quiz to worry about. You could just choose. And I can understand that being a more convenient thing when you think about it practically, or as practically as you can make it, for like a cosmetic thing mostly. I guess it's not cosmetic since Pokemon have different moves. Anyway, but the quizzes helped immerse the player when they first start the game. Especially when you're young, it feels like the game is reading your mind and figuring out what Pokemon you would be if Pokemon were real. And yes, you didn't have control over what Pokemon you spawned as unless you knew like how the quizzes worked. I feel like it's a worthy trade-off to help immerse the player into the story a lot more. And the biggest strength of the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, especially the first two games, I'm not too familiar with the newer games in terms of their story, especially later in their games, because I never could complete them. The story and being immersed into the story and feeling like you're actually that Pokemon that you're controlling, and feeling like you're actually making these friends and doing these things. The quiz is fundamental to that, in my opinion. In this game, they're trying to get the best of both worlds. The quiz is back, and it does choose a Pokemon for you, but you could also just say, nah, that's not me. I'm not sure what to think of that. I mean, as an adult, I probably wouldn't mind just changing my Pokemon, but as a kid, I don't know. If I was a kid, I would... I don't know. If I had the choice to just choose my Pokemon, even if it does choose for me at the start, and I could just say no, I don't know. I feel like I might be less immersed if I choose to not go with what the game gave me. But anyway, I do think the quiz is overall important, but since the game is giving me the choice, I'm just gonna say, no, that's not right. In some ways, I kind of don't want to do that, but the game is letting me choose that. If the game didn't have that choice, then I'd be stuck with Psyduck, and I could probably be more immersed, even if I'm not happy with the choice. So I don't know, I'm conflicted. There's a confliction there. Obviously, if you know anything about me, I'd probably pick Eevee. Also interesting to note, from what I've observed so far with how the game renders, it looks like the outline is basically another model that's like scaled up based on vertex normals. So basically there's like a bigger model surrounding the base model that you see the color on. And the model that's bigger and all black has inverted normals to where you can only see the back faces of it and not the front faces. I can tell this because there's some artifacts related to that kind of give it away. If you look at the head intersecting with the collar, the fur collar, I don't know what to call that actually. But yeah, look at Eevee's fur and head intersecting, and look at the outline around that area. If this was a post-process effect for the outlines, the outline would be a lot different. Because if you do a post-process version of an outline, you'd be doing it based off of depth normals, and it wouldn't taper off like that, especially because the outline actually tapers away from the head and not towards it, which kind of looks weird. Even though the outline is clearly shaped around the head, it's tapering away from it, not towards it. So yeah, that's just an observation. Also interesting to note is that I've heard this game is built in Unity, which is a strange choice because from what I can tell, Unity doesn't run too well on mobile hardware. I don't know, I don't know too much about Unity on non-x86 platforms, but it's kind of a strange choice. I don't know. If that is indeed true, I would consider that a strange choice. But the benefit of that, of course, even if it doesn't run as well, is that it's easier to develop for Unity than it is to make your own custom engine and stuff like that. And I can understand that, especially because this isn't a mainline game with a huge budget, I imagine. I'm actually not too sure about that, but I imagine, just based off of what I'm seeing, and also based off of the fact that this game apparently is built on Unity, it would suggest that their budget isn't too high, and they can't afford to build their own engine. Anyway, enough with the nerd talk, let's go. Yeah, that looks really, really strange. The frame rate of that transition with Eevee there was very low. That's kind of what I mean by Unity not running too well on mobile hardware. Because this scene is very simple. Like, there's no background, it's just Pokemon models. And maybe the models are just too high fidelity, because they look like to be the same models from the mainline games. I mean, why wouldn't they be? Again, it's something I don't know for sure, but practically speaking, there would be no reason to build new models if they looked similar. So, again, that's an assumption. Best educated guess, if you ask me. Anyways, So right off the bat, I am nervous about performance. The game looks pretty good, other than the outline having weird artifacting when meshes intersect. Just due to the nature of the outline being kind of faked. It's just another mesh that's slightly larger than the base mesh that has inverted normals, so it's not perfect. Now the game's letting you choose a partner, which the games have always let you do, and I don't have a problem with it, because you aren't choosing how you're supposed to be, you're choosing a partner. You can't necessarily choose who you're born to be, but you can choose who you're friends with. So in my opinion, it's less immersion breaking when you're given this kind of choice. I have a soft spot for Gen 2 starters, and my favorite Gen 2 starter would also be Cyndaquil. So I'm gonna go ahead and choose Cyndaquil. I also didn't really mention like there's like a static texture being overlaid on top of the model. The effect doesn't seem too fancy, it's just like a static texture. And the texture stays in place on the screen while the model moves. And like, it's nothing too fancy, I think. It looks nice though. Now nicknames have been strange in these series of games where most of the characters you meet don't have nicknames, they're just their Pokemon name. But you can give your partner a nickname, which is a bit weird, because it would kind of make your partner the only Pokemon in the world, in the established world, that has a nickname, while everyone else goes by their Pokemon name. Now again, you, the player, having a nickname makes sense because you're a human transforming into a Pokemon. You would have had a previous name as a human, obviously, so that makes a lot more sense, but your partner is not that. So yeah, anyway, there's not much more for me to say, but I will be going with, for the sake of consistency of the world, I will just stick with the Cyndaquil name. I don't know why the frame rate's so bad there. I hope the game isn't actually like that. Because for a game like this, even if the frame rate doesn't actually have a huge impact on gameplay, given the fact that this is technically a turn-based dungeon crawler, it's still, I would still consider it quite a downgrade, because the original games, both on the GBA and DS, ran at 60 FPS at basically all times. And while it doesn't impact gameplay, it does impact the feel and how it feels to look at the game as you play it, even if it doesn't impact the gameplay. So it has me concerned. I know it's not going to be 60 FPS, but I at least hope it can hold a 30 FPS. But I guess we'll see. So let's get on a roll. And just to be clear, the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, the first two specifically, are my personal favorite single-player, story-driven games of all time. So, given how much I love these series of games, especially the first two, I will probably be their harshest critic. So, just because I'm criticizing the game so intensely, you haven't even gotten the gameplay yet, and I've been talking and talking about this game just based on its look and its development, based on what I know, or think I know, and observing the graphics. And, you know, I'm going to be very critical. I care deeply, and I want these series of games to be good. And given that this is a remake of the first game, which is my second favorite PMD game of all time, of course, and the fact that they're trying to be faithful to it, I'm going to be critical of that aspect as well. How faithful are they going to be to the original game? And the feel of the game will be included in that, which also includes performance. I haven't even talked about how 3D models have impacted the series, which I'll get into later, I think, during cutscenes maybe, but anyway, let's go. So this is more, okay. So this is kind of like maybe a Yoshi's Story kind of art style? Or is that am I not thinking of the right game? Anyway, this is a water brush, or this is sort of like a water painted kind of feel, maybe? Which is interesting because, again, the models are 3D. I'll talk about that subject in a bit. I also do notice that the texture that's overlaid on top of the model actually seems to be deforming based off of the world normals, maybe? Wouldn't surprise me. Anyway, So it's not just a static texture on the screen. It's actually deforming based off of the actual model. That's fine. Oh, that frame pacing. Okay. The camera just rotated, and I noticed some frame pacing issues. Oh no. Oh man, my technical mind is ruining my experience. Anyway, I'm just gonna keep moving on though. Some interesting animation there. I'm not gonna comment on that yet. Yeah, this is a very strange toy. So, I might as well talk about it now. And what I want to talk about is the impact the 3D models have impacted the series, at least to me. In my personal opinion, when the game transitioned to having character models, I feel like that took away from immersion in another way. So that's just another thing that stacked on top of immersion breaking things that kind of maybe drop out of the series. It's mainly because 3D models are a lot harder to work with in a game like this, where it's an RPG. So there's story, cutscenes. This does impact the main series games, just not to an extreme, in my opinion. But yes, some of the problems that I'm about to mention do apply to the main series games. So cutscenes in the original games where they're sprite-based. When you do construct a cutscene, you're just working with sprites and a emotion set for the picture on the bottom right here, I can see on the screen right now. That's what you have to work with. But since they're sprite art, the resolution's small, there's a lot of room for your imagination to fill in the blanks. So it doesn't break immersion if you don't see your model on screen emoting to everything perfectly. It has its own charm to it, I would say. And again, I'm only talking about 2D sprites for the characters in the game. If the environment was 3D, but the sprites were 2D for the characters, like it was for Gen 4 and 5, that doesn't really apply to that. But when you construct a cutscene with 3D models, you have to do so much more work to make a cutscene alone that's convincing and doesn't break immersion or feel cheap. Because you have to animate every model that's on screen to every action if you want it to look convincing and not feel like it's just cheap blending of animations and whatnot. And every single 3D RPG suffers from this, by the way. It's not just Pokemon, it is every single one, pretty much. Almost every single one. There's a few exceptions out there that are very, very impressive. But most of them, like, it's a pretty big problem. So cutscenes can come off as cheap looking, just based off how animations are either reused on 3D models, especially high fidelity models like these. And there's no room to fill in blanks because you see everything on screen. And when something doesn't look right, you can't fill that in. It just doesn't look right. That's it. The end. So for example, at the beginning of this cutscene, where I woke up as Eevee and did this weird flinch animation, that came off as cheap, and it's mostly because the animation itself isn't very well made. I'll be brutally honest and blunt there. And after the animation was done, it looks like to me that the animation was just linearly blended into the idle pose, I think, if I recall. I only saw it once, so I'm just recalling from memory. But when you look at the original version of this on the DS, you, again, only have sprites to work with, but that leaves room for the player to fill in the blanks for emotion. And the emotion that you can't get from the sprites, you get from the actual, like, character picture or icon on the bottom right. Now, speaking of that picture, if the picture on the bottom right doesn't match with what's actually happening on screen with the 3D models, where again there's no room to fill in the blanks, there's a mismatch. It also breaks immersion. So, like how it is right now, where Cynical has a sort of concerned look on the picture, but not on his actual model, there's a disconnect, no room to fill in the blanks, there's a bit of immersion breaking there. And one thing I do appreciate right now, though, is how they decided to make the models more stylized in appearance, which is a good step in the right direction, but it doesn't change the fact that they're still 3D models and they're still the same problems. Again, this is all just my opinion and my experience with how I get immersed in games, which honestly is kind of more of a subjective thing, I think. And I've always enjoyed games like this that were sprite-based, but once they jump to 3D, again, it's just immersion breaking because there's no room to fill in blanks, like I've said before. And again, I don't have to repeat myself, you already know. We haven't even got the gameplay yet, guys. Here we go. I don't know what the title of this will be yet, but I'm pretty sure the title will suggest that this is a very technical playthrough of the demo, not necessarily just a casual playthrough. I'm someone who specializes in 3D animation, and I also just know a lot about 3D development in general when it comes to models and games and stuff like that. It's something that I know a lot about. And on top of that, I'm very passionate about these series of games, and I'm going to be very critical, like I said before. So anyway, let's just jump ahead. I'm actually going to proceed with the cutscene. Let's go. Alright, so we just name ourselves... I'll be using my first name, so that's Derek. D-E-R-E-K. There we go. Here comes Caterpie, right? Or is it Butterfree? Wait, it was Butterfree, right? Okay. It was Butterfree asking for help to get Caterpie. I'm not remembering things correctly. Okay. Quick comment, Eevee's tail is very static looking and is not very good for an idol. Okay, moving on. Again, this wouldn't be a problem if they were 2D sprites. You think you could fill in blanks, like I said. Oh, that walk cycle looks weird. Every single time the Pokemon move. Yeah, every single time the Pokemon move, it's just like, I find something very strange about this. That's just what goes on through my mind, and it's, now, again, so far I'm not saying the game has been awful or anything, it's just things I've found off-putting, and things that catch my attention. And it's always why I like games like this that are 2D sprites instead of 3D. I kind of wish the Mystery Dungeon series would go back to 2D, but I understand why they wouldn't do that, because they probably can't sell the games nearly as well if they just went back to 2D. It would look like an old-looking game from ages ago, you just can't get around that stigma. Unless you try to go full-on retro. That has its own market, and it can sell well, but... Let's actually talk positive. The music. The music's really good. It's very faithful to the originals. So as you can hear, the music, if you are familiar with the soundtrack of the original games at all, they sound very familiar. They're very faithful, and I think it's because they're using some DS sound bites, while also using some modern sound bites as well mixed in. So I'm not an expert on music or anything, but that's just my best guess. That's all I'll say. But it is really good. I am very into this. I love the original soundtrack a whole lot, and the fact that it's this faithful, but also sounding a little different, and also a little bit more modern and cleaner, is great. Very good. Now, gameplay. How long have I been recording? I've been recording for 40 minutes, by the way. Of course, I've been editing things down because there's a lot of pauses of me just thinking and stuff like that, but oh, this is gonna be a long video. But yeah, let's actually talk gameplay. I'm actually not too sure what to expect, so I'll just talk as I move along. But one thing I will say for the newer games that came out on the 3DS is that their camera sucked. Again, I'm being very blunt. Their camera sucks. The DS games for Mystery Dungeon, their camera was at a very comfortable distance away from the player so that you can see enough of what's around you. But in the 3DS games, the camera was very zoomed in. You couldn't see very many tiles around you. Yeah, that's not entirely gameplay related other than your basically field of vision. I'm actually not, I don't remember the gameplay in terms of controls and how the moves worked in the newer games. I just know how they worked in the old games. So I guess I'll see what's new and what's different and what's still the same as I move on. So we still have diagonal movement, that's fine. Looks like a shortcut menu. So that's new. Quick moves. Yeah, okay. So before they had a single button combination for using your set move, but looks like you can use any move at any point easily, which might have been a thing in the 3DS games. I actually don't know. I'm not familiar. Looks like I'm seeing enemies on... What the hell? Okay. Am I gonna edit that out? That's kind of a genuine reaction. Why am I seeing enemies on my map right now? What? I can't see the layout of the map, but why am I seeing the enemies on parts of the map that I haven't discovered yet? Okay, that's a little weird. Why would it be like that? Makes the game easier, doesn't it? As if the game needs to be easier. Okay. Well, pardon for my genuine reaction there. I don't like that. I don't like the enemies being on the minimap so soon. Like, I haven't even explored past this room, and I can see every enemy that's present on this floor. Okay. Oh, man. This is gonna turn into a nitpick video, isn't it? Okay, let's just move on. What? 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 Wait. Why? What? Cynical, why? Why are you doing that? So this is a changing gameplay too, okay. Okay. I'm noticing so many different things. Okay. So the button layout, I like. From what I've found so far, the button layout's fine. They improved it. There's nothing bad about it compared to the old games. It's nothing but an improvement. But here's another difference I don't think I like too much. I don't know yet if it'll actually negatively impact the gameplay, but first impressions anyway. I don't like it. In the old games, if you moved into the same tile your teammate is on, you just swapped tiles. You didn't push your teammate. Is there a setting for this, maybe? Can't switch leaders now. Yeah, I know. You can't do that until, like, post-game, right? Is there, like, a setting for this? Okay. So you can look around the whole room with this. Got it. That's large? The map is on large. It's already pretty small, though. Okay. Grid on. I want my grid? Nah. It's kind of an obnoxious looking grid. Nah, I don't need that. Turn when damaged. Yes. Teammate recovery. Item use. Choose whether your teammate will attempt to use healing items. I'm not sure how that will impact the AI. I'm not sure. In auto mode? What the hell is auto mode? That's weird. Okay, I'm not sure what that means. Is auto mode when you hold B or something? When you like teleport across the screen? Just to make movement faster? I think that's what it is. I think I'd rather keep that manual. Okay. This was yes by default in the original games and you couldn't change that. But I think I'll keep it on yes. Yeah, I don't think there's a setting for this. You used to be able to like change how your teammate behaves. Though I don't know, I don't remember if they were unlocked later in the game based on IQ points. Is IQ even still a thing? I don't see a bar for that. Huh. They might have axed IQ. We'll see about that. Yeah, I don't see IQ. So there's a layer of depth that was also removed. Okay. Again, I don't know how to feel about that. There is belly. Of course, you have to worry about hunger. Don't think they have any reason to get rid of that. Yeah, there's just no IQ. Unless that's, like, given to you later, right? It certainly wasn't like that before. It's just probably not there. Okay, and oh yeah, Y targeting. You can hold Y to rotate your model, which was a thing in the original games. So, you know, nothing surprising. I think one benefit to having your teammate being pushed is that you can have your teammates lead in like a corridor, which you normally wouldn't be able to do. Though it could be problematic when hallways split into forks, into other paths. The AI might just randomly choose which one to go down. Though it is a bit weird that the AI just does a 360 every time I push them. Very strange. Was Ember a ranged move before? Ember is an early move, and it's in ranged moves that doesn't attack just the tile in front of you are usually very easy to work with because it just lets you space moves easily. Again, makes the game easier. One of the trends I don't like with Pokemon lately is that they've been making their games just easier and easier and easier. And when I say easier, I don't necessarily mean quality of life changes. I'm mainly referring to actual things that just make the game easier, plain and simple, like objectively speaking. You have less things to worry about. Very strange. So what are my moves anyway? I haven't actually looked. So I have Quick Attack, Swift. So Swift should be a ranged move. Are abilities a thing? Good. So I have Adaptability, got it. So I just get more power out of my normal type moves. Good, they didn't axe abilities like they did with Let's Go. Oh, okay. Cyndaquil lead. Use a move with A. Yeah, basic attack. I don't know why. This is a demo, though. Maybe they could change that later, but... pushing a teammate just makes them do 360s, and that's so weird. Okay, moving on. So you hold L, and... Oh, Quick Attack is a 2-range move before. How do I look at my move stats, anyway? It says the range for Swift is front, which means it's only 1 tile ahead. I don't think it was like that before. And Quick Attack is 2 tiles, which is how it was before. Okay. Yeah, okay. I like how they give you the accuracy stat. Let you know how reliable the move is. Good to know. What are my partner's moves? Ember, Double Kick. And they really... they give you a full move set of useful moves. Like... like, all these moves are useful. They didn't give you Growler, Leer. Like, those aren't useless moves per se. But they're, like, not as good as just high power attacking moves. Especially when you have good coverage, like Cyndaquil has, and high power moves like I have. Oh, man. I can see this game just being really easy compared to the original game. But you'll see. We'll see. It's just, based on what I'm seeing right now, it just looks like it's going to be really, really easy. Alright, Tackle. Oh my god, what is this? Okay, look at this. Look at Eevee's walk cycle. Eevee's legs are like moving independently, and the body is just static. It looks awful. This is a really bad walk cycle. I'm a little flabbergasted. It's not a very good walk cycle at all. Oh god. Oh man. Again. Okay. Let me show you on screen the original Eevee sprite animations and why I love sprites so much. Generally, sprites this size are easier to work with than animating 3D models, as stated before at the start of the video. And on top of that, the original sprite work was so good. The Eevee idle animation is extremely expressive. If I recall correctly, I'm not even looking at this right now. This is off of memory. Eevee hops during its walk cycle. For every step, it's just a hop, 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 hop. And it's very expressive and it's very cute. But for this is not good. Sure, if you look at a still image of a screenshot of this game, it looks fine. But oh my god, the animation just does not look good. This is a really, really bad animation. Jarringly so. It just takes me out of it. Yikes. I'm only in my 3rd room, guys. This is not a Let's Play. This is me showing how geeky I am regarding the topic of 3D and 3D animation and game development and stuff like that. If you haven't realized this already, this is just not gonna be a Let's Play. Especially now, like, there's just too many problems with the game for me to actually get too immersed. Visually speaking, it's just awful. And you're gonna be walking a lot. That's like all this game is. You're walking and exploring dungeons, and this is This is if you're gonna get any animation right, you want to get the walk cycle correct in a game like this. It's awful. It's like you're not gonna be seeing many more animations most of the time. So okay, let's just actually move on. Oh, that looks so bad. Oh, God. Now I know. Okay. Let's see what this is all about. I'm gonna press the left shoulder button. Look around, I guess. Really? Really? The game plays itself. Is it gonna attack for me? Okay, it just ends, okay. Oh my god. The game plays itself. No. Obviously you can choose not to do this, but the game gives you the option to. Can I at least turn off auto mode in the options? Oh, I keep pressing start. Oh god. I don't like that at all. Options, options, options. Oh no. I don't recall. Focus, exploring, find the stairs. So you can change auto mode. What I thought auto mode was is that if you just hold B, the game will just take you to the end of the room or hallway. But this is literally the game playing itself instead. It's choosing where you go. You don't have to think about it. And if I have this on, finding the stairs, there's no off option. It's just that. It's just gonna take me to the stairs, I assume, right? I'm getting hungry because I'm spending so much time just wandering around showing how bad the walk animation is, so... let's go to a new floor and see if it just finds the stairs for me. Because I already discovered the stairs on that floor, so... I'm gonna hit the left shoulder button, and let's find out what the game does. I'm not sure if this enemy's gonna keep me from doing that. Yeah. So, can I still skip a turn? Yep, I still can. Cool. So let's attack you. You can skip a turn by pressing B and A at the same time, which is nice. Oh yeah, I was gonna let the game find the stairs for me. Okay. So I guess it wasn't doing that. Because clearly the stairs is going to be on the top left. It's the only room left. So what's the difference then? Is it just going to end when you find the stairs or something? I still don't like the game's playing itself, regardless, but... Yeah, Oh, yeah, hunger. Yeah. It's eat an orangeberry. It's not going to fill my hunger too much, is it? Oh, nothing at all. 2 hunger. Yeah. Oh, it was the last floor anyway. 3 floors. Alright, so that's the first 3-floor dungeon. Very simple and easy, but... I can't believe that. So before that monstrosity of a discovery, my only biggest problem I had with the gameplay itself was the partner being pushed instead of swapping spaces, and there being seemingly no way to change that. It's, like, I would be fine with it if there was like a toggle option saying whether or not you're going to push your teammates or swap tiles. But now there's this mechanic that just plays the game. And the option is always going to be a button press away. I wouldn't have this issue if there was like a difficulty option select, where if you select it easy, you could have this option, and if you selected hard or something, you wouldn't have this option available to you. Fine, I would be okay with that. But there's nothing you can do to turn this option off. It's always going to be on the left shoulder button. You can't turn it off. You can't turn it off. I can't get over that. Oh, man. I hate gameplay mechanics that's basically an auto mode. Especially when it's just a button press away. Oh, man. I am so sad about that. Okay. I will try to look past it. I will just pretend it's not there, but subconsciously speaking, I'm always gonna have to think about that button on the controller always being the play itself button. It's always gonna be button press away. Okay then. So there's a critical view of the gameplay itself, which I haven't given a lot of yet. It's mostly been graphical. Oops, hit the mic. I probably won't have anything critical to say about the story, because it's probably going to be the same thing, and I love the story of the original games. I think they changed the dialogue a little bit, but otherwise it's pretty much the same. That sparkly eye effect, it's very weird in 3D. Again, this is why sprites are better. And this is coming from a 3D animator, mind you. I specialize in 3D, and I'm saying sprites are better. Oh, I still can't get over that walk animation. I could tell it was bad, even though I didn't. I could look. The feet were being blocked by that rock or that walking animation. But I can still tell it's bad because Eevee's body isn't moving at all. It's just static. Oh man, I'm so disappointed in that. And this is also given the fact that these models are likely the same models being used from the mainline games, and if that is indeed true, the skeletons are probably the same, which means they could probably map the walking and running animations from the mainline games to this game, and even the idols, they could do that. I think the only thing preventing them from really doing that is the fact that they aren't Game Freak. They're Chunsoft. They're a different developer. They may not have access to all that. I don't think they... That might be more of a problem with communication between developers or collaboration between developers than it is a technical one, because I'm pretty sure you can map the animations to these models from those games to this game and have it be fine, because the walk animations from the mainline games is way better. Man. They've been in the game since Sun and Moon, by the way, those walk and runs. They were unused in those games, but they were in there. I don't know, man. Oh, that walk. I wonder if I'd be complaining this much if I chose a different Pokemon that had a different walk cycle that wasn't nearly this bad. Cyndaquil's is not bad. Being bipedal, being easier to animate, a walk cycle for probably makes a difference. But I'll force myself to not be negative right now. The game looks good. If you aren't paying attention to the animation and the expressions on the 3D characters, the environments look good. I like how they chose this art style and how they chose to shade the models with these outlines and neat looking patterns on the models. It looks good. I like it. It's a nice stylized look. I'm pretty impressed. I wonder if that dialogue would have changed if it doesn't have a tail. Or maybe they had like specific dialogue for the Pokemon that you are, which wasn't in the original game, by the way. I don't think. I don't think there was Pokemon specific dialogue based on what you were. Oh, the shadows also have a texture to it. Huh. It's very neat. Yeah, it's a neat style. I like the style. I don't like the animation. The animation is just not good. It's not. I'm not gonna not be blunt. It's in my nature to be blunt about these kinds of things that I'm passionate about. Like, it's not good animation. It's not. But the visual fidelity, other than that, is really solid. I like how they chose this approach for visuals. Yeah, Cynical's walk is okay. It's tolerable. It is nowhere near as bad as Eevee's. Okay. This music is great, by the way. It still sounds like its old self, but it's still new as well. I should have said refuse. I know there's a dialogue loop there, but oh well. This might not be very original, but I'm gonna go ahead and just be respectful to the original game and go based off of its title, and I will name myself Blue, as in Blue Rescue Team. Blue Rescue Team. We're gonna have scarves? Yes. Nice. Nice addition. They didn't have that in the original game. Cool. Which is funny because, like, on all box art and, like, promotional art for even the first game, they always wear these accessories around their necks and whatnot, but you never saw that in game at all. Like, that was just never a thing in the games. At least for the first two games. I actually genuinely don't know if that was a thing in any of the 3DS games. I don't remember. I tend to not really remember those games too well. But yes, I do like this. It's very cute to have the addition of the scarves. They've always looked good on the Pokemon. It's good. I kind of wish you could change, like, the color maybe, but whatever. Having them in the first place is nice. Or maybe you can choose them later? Anyway, Rescue Team Blue. Look, Cyndaquil, you say Blue before Rescue Team. That's a way catcher. Way catcher. For sure. Just say. Okay. Just me being silly there, I guess. Mystery Dungeon demo. Is that the end of the demo? Or is that... It's just a splash screen. Okay, yeah, splash screen. It would have been a neat touch if they added the scarves to the icons. Again, there's a disconnect with the mismatch. Every single time there's like a new cutscene, a new anything, I find something intriguing about it. Man. At the end of the day, if I get the full game, which I probably will, I probably like it, but still prefer the original game just because of all the positives that older game had over this one just being more solid. There's a lot of issues that I've ran into so far, and it's only been the first dungeon and the first 2 cutscenes. So, as well as the quiz. So. Okay, so I have a few issues. Other than this horrid walk animation, which now I have full control over with analog movements, given that this is not a dungeon, but an overworld. Not an overworld, but like, it's not a dungeon. Which has always been the case in the first game, so not a surprise, but the dead zone. For the controller, the dead zone, why is it so small? I'm not barely touching the stick, and he's just like twitching and constantly moving. It's very weird. Increase the dead zone, guys. Hello? I guess I won't be using the analog stick just because of that. I would just use the D-pad, but it was also a little buggy too. Like for some reason I'm like moving at full speed. Oh, I'm not touching the analog stick. It's censored right now. Why am I walking still? Yeah, analog stick movement is really bad in the non-dungeons. It's not good. This is a really, really bad implementation of analog stick movement. Like, there's no way around that. This is actually objectively bad. You can't really argue that. It's just not good. It's doing things that doesn't actually coincide with your... I didn't touch the analog stick. It was still censored, and he just ran left. Stop running left, please. Walking right. That was manual. Yeah, I'm barely touching the stick. Yeah, this... Okay. Oh, stop moving. Okay. Okay, I'm using the D-pad now, and with my analog stick centered. It keeps walking left. I'm walking with the D-pad, letting go with the D-pad, going left. Oh, man. Look, I know that Chunsoft is not Game Freak. They're nowhere near as big, and their development team is nowhere near as big as well. It is still Pokemon. It is still Pokemon. I will not get over the fact that Pokemon is such a huge franchise. Okay, let's just move on. Just that analog stick movement was so bad, though. That was bad. And that walk is bad. This isn't the original game too, but it's kind of funny how fast the shipping is. 1 day shipping. Pokemon News, that's a new thing. That's not part of the original one. Okay. What is Pokemon News? How many times a day do they deliver mail to your mailbox? I honestly don't know. Again, I think this is part of the original game too. And again, it's also not much of a critique as it is just an observation. It's not like this this town is very big anyway. Okay, let's not go. Let's not go. Okay, it's just a simple loop part, fine. Yeah, they had those all over the place in the original game. They weren't anything too special though, but it's still nice to see that they're still here. And I hit the mic again. Whoops. It's a nice looking overworld map. This song's nice. This is probably one of my least favorite songs from the original game because of its more repetitive nature and the sound bites not being of high quality, but I'll see if this grows on me. Okay, this is a 6th floor dungeon. I don't remember how many floors each dungeon was in the original game. I don't remember that many things. I remember a lot, but not that much. Okay. I do not dare hold the left shoulder button. Oh, I see. Okay, I figured it out. If you hold B and run into your teammate, you swap spaces. Okay, now that is a non-issue. That is no longer a problem. Nice. Cool. Okay, so that's one of the bigger problems down. But there's still the bigger problem of this existing. But I can just ignore it, even though I still have to subconsciously think about it. And it's just not great design in general. How the gameplay itself, yeah, anyway. Oops. Yeah. As I'm playing through this dungeon, I will bring up one of the worst things about the original game that I hope this newer remake improves upon, is the post-game. The post-game, while I won't spoil any of the plot, the post-game was very immersion-breaking. I guess that's one way of saying it. It's immersion-breaking because, I guess I don't really consider this too much of a spoiler, but because it's not plot-related, it's related to the mechanics of the game. But you are no longer the leader of your team in post-game, and your main character, your Pokemon, the one you turned into, kind of just turns into just another Pokemon that's in your team. It's no longer you. That was by far the worst part of the original game. Now, this is the thing they fixed in Explorers of Time, Darkness, and Sky. So they probably take notes from that game, or probably the 3DS games. I don't know how the 3DS games post games were. But yeah, one thing I'm pretty sure this game will improve upon is the post game. There's no way they won't improve that. Because that was a huge disconnect between the player and the game. Like that, I never completed the post game for the original game. I never could. I just couldn't get into it. It was too immersion breaking. For the second PMD game, yes, I could. I completed it once before, but it is such a vast post game that I don't think I could like complete it again. It's just so massive, but it's not perfect. Yeah. The second game's post-game wasn't perfect either. There was some immersion-breaking things in terms of its repetitiveness, but at least the player's Pokemon didn't get treated as if it was just another Pokemon on the team. You were still that Pokemon. So, yeah. Wonder Titles. Cool. That's still a thing. Clear stats. Wait. Wouldn't it be the L-Kid's turn to move? Or did it wait, what? How do turns work now? Or... Oh, okay, no, I get it. My teammate didn't move with me, I guess. But no, that still doesn't make sense. Because usually, turn orders are defined as you move first, the leader of your team, then it's your second teammate, then your third teammate, then your fourth teammate, then it's whatever's next in the enemy list. I guess probably by spawn order or something, but there's a defined order, and your teammates always move first. L-Kid moved into his tile this turn. Like, he was the tile behind the previous turn, so he just moved there. So that means Cyndaquil should have, at least in the previous games, should have moved before Elekid moves there, which means either Cyndaquil would, based on its AI, decide to stay there, unable to attack because he'd be spending a turn sitting in place, or he'd decide to stay right behind me. So how do turn orders work then? That's confusing. How am I supposed to strategize about that? So, oh man, okay. I don't know. It's weird. What is Swift? Swift is very weak, even with adaptability and stab. Cool. What is the base power of these moves anyway? Ah, okay. Power is represented by the bar. Okay. Swift is the same power as Tackle in this game. Yeah, they might have reworked the base powers of these moves, because Tackle used to be actually a really solid move in the original game. Like, it was really good. It was not proportional to the mainline games in terms of the move stats. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting to see the power being so small for Tackle. So I guess it's more consistent with the mainline games, so there's that. It's not worth critiquing, because I actually don't know how impactful that is to the main game, but you'll see. One of my main other critiques right now is the frame rates and the input delay. Again, this is a game built in Unity, and not to say Unity is a bad engine, it's just not... I don't think it's a good engine for mobile hardware, at least to my knowledge. I'm not an expert on Unity, but I have worked in Unity before for game development, especially recently. Just not for mobile chipsets, and the performance isn't great, but at least it feels consistent. But there's another problem with input delay, which the frame rate being low doesn't help for things. Frame times being larger means there's more delay, but that's not the only cause of the delay. There's also frame buffers and stuff like that. And for whatever reason, there's quite a bit of input delay in this game, which kind of just makes movement feel sluggish. While again, this is, yes, a turn-based game, yes, I know, but it impacts the gameplay. Because you still do move around, and especially if you hold the B button to sprint or dash or whatever the game calls it, having snappy movement like that can be hard to control if there's input delay, where the movement just feels sluggish. So it's kind of like you have to take the game more methodically than you had to before. So, yeah. Anyway, there's that critique. Dead end. Yeah. Hold B to move past. I'm glad I found that out. Why was that so muffled? I wonder how Pokemon stats are calculated now. Is there a move I don't need here? No, I can't look at his stats? Okay. Whatever. I was wondering if I should keep a physical move or a special move. Whatever. Yeah, Facade's a pretty good move, even though it's Cyndaquil. Smokescreen in of itself has pretty bad accuracy. Its application isn't too amazing because it's luck-based, and I don't like working based off of probability. So yeah, just nah. What? Wait, what? Okay, I'm really confused. What just happened? Go to options, event log, message log, whatever. Derek quickly used multiple moves in a row. How the hell did I do that? What? Wait, how to play? Maybe there's a freaking thing for it. I guess I'll experiment with that mechanic. I'm not sure how I did that. Oh boy, this walk sucks. I like how your teammate goes and gets items. We like spread out to get items, and yeah, that's more efficient than just doing it on our own. Okay. Again, I'll add to my animation critique before. The reason I like sprites more, well, another one of the reasons, just like that head nod you just saw with Eevee, he just nodded his head, or I guess I nodded my head as Eevee, and all that was like just an animation rotating the head up and down without any sort of character or anything to it. No weight shifting or anything, it's just head moving up and down, that's it. For the sprite animation, it's a lot more expressive. It's kind of easier to do that in the sprites, in some ways. In some ways it's not, because you have to manually do that nodding for every direction the character is facing. And you don't have to do that in 3D, which is one of the easier things with 3D, is that you can make an animation and use it for any camera angle. For sprites, you can't. That's basically one of the only easier things about 3D. Almost everything else about 3D is harder compared to sprites. Traditional animation is harder than 3D, but that's not relevant. I thought I'd just add the fact that the Eevee just nodded his head very robotically is, again, just doesn't feel right to me. It just feels cheap. So, again, sprites are better. That's all I have to say. At least in my opinion. Oh yeah, I also noticed in dungeons you have a lower poly model, which I don't think I've seen low poly models of Pokemon before. They've usually always stuck with the higher fidelity models for the mainline games for anything other than an overworld low poly model. For maybe Wingles that fly in auras or something like that. Anyway. This is gonna be Gardevoir, right? I'm not sure if that's completely reviewed yet. I'm not sure if it's gonna be Silhouette, is it? No, not yet. Not yet. Oh, don't use the analog stick. Stop. Oh my god. Guys, Chunsoft, you gotta add a dead zone. If you have a dead zone, it's really, really small. I have to perfectly center my analog stick and then start using the D-pad. Otherwise, my character just starts moving on their own. That's just, it's very frustrating. Dead zone, guys. Dead zone. Oh, I also noticed you could switch leaders, which I haven't taken advantage of yet. But I'll say I do like that change. You've always been stuck playing as your own character in dungeons until post-game, which by that time, especially in the first game, you started to break immersion because you started to become just any other Pokemon. But you can still change the leader being the one you control. But you can still be your own Pokemon. You're still clearly the Pokemon that is named after you, but control a different Pokemon. Anyway, yeah, it's hard to explain, I guess. I do like the change. I don't consider it immersion breaking necessarily. Because these dungeon games have always been about swapping around your team and all that. And swapping on your leader and your partner should be part of that too. Okay, so we're just gonna take a tour, I guess. Right. As if I need it, I already know this town very well. It doesn't seem to have changed in layout. I guess I kind of like that interaction they're having. It's still kind of stiff and all. There's like barely any animation, but having the storekeeper and the Cyndaquil interact like that is nice. So linking did not get axed. Good. Linking's been kind of an interesting mechanic. It's been hard to use because you're forced to use the Link's moves 100% of the time. Like, you can't just decide to use one move in the Link's moves that you have. I'm not sure if they're going to make any changes to that to make it easier or not. I wouldn't mind either way, honestly. Okay. The sprinting animation for Eevee is not great. It's still pretty bad, but at least the body isn't static, I guess. It's not natural looking at all. It's still very stiff and looks bad, but at least it's not the walk. At least. What's this? I don't know if this house was here before. It's probably just set dressing though. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, whatever. Every time Eevee walks, it's just so distracting. Bronze dojo ticket. That's new. Silver dojo ticket. Again, those are new. I'm not sure what those are. It's related to the dojo, the dungeon dojo thing. The Makuhita one. Oh, whoops, I'm using the analog stick. That's a no-no. Yeah, okay. Demo restrictions, I should have figured. I'm assuming the save file is going to transfer to the full game. If not, I guess it's not a big deal, but it would be nice, especially for a game like this. I guess the demo is just the start of the game. Why would you want to restart the game from the beginning? Like, you're doing everything as if the game was a full game, except it's only the start. I don't want to do a dungeon again. We've already done, so I think I'll just end it here. So, I guess to summarize, I know I've been extremely negative, but I do hope this game does turn out well. It's just the first impressions have been very, very weird for me. The walk cycle, terrible. It's just bad for Eevee. I don't know how the other Pokemon fare yet. I haven't had a good look at them, other than Cyndaquil, which Cyndaquil is alright. The general aesthetic is nice. I do like it. Like, I don't have a huge issue with it. I do think the 3D models for the characters do kind of stick out a little bit, but that's more of a minor issue, and I wouldn't consider that an issue worth changing the whole game for alone. But there are other issues with the 3D models that aren't related to the rendering of the aesthetics, but the animation, which again, I already just mentioned that. The game design, I hate auto mode. I loathe it. It's bad. It's bad game design. Having the game play itself is just not good game design. Why would anyone enjoy that? I guess, okay, I shouldn't say that because I know there are people that would like to have an auto mode, right? I guess. Like, I kind of have a hard time seeing why, but I'm not gonna just pretend that doesn't exist. But I still don't really consider it great game design. because a game is meant to be played, not to play itself. So yeah, that is just not a good thing. It's awful. I do not like that. The performance is not amazing. I miss the 60 FPS. I do. It's not a huge deal for a game like this. It would be a way bigger issue if this was a platformer or a shooter. Those types of games matter way more. Or a fighting game. Those matter way more for frame rates and input delay and stuff, but it's still a problem. It's not like it's not there. It's still in the way. It's just not as disruptive. One thing I do look forward to in this game, once it does come out, is the post-game. I assume the main story is going to be pretty much the same. It hit the same story beats, but the post-game, I hope, is improved, because that was the weakest part of the original game, by far. Mainly because of the immersion breaking, not necessarily because of the story of the post-game. That's kind of part of it, but it's not the whole reason. It's just the immersion breaking part where your character is just another Pokemon, like as any other. If I remember correctly, I think you could even toss your character. Like in the original game, you could release your teammates. I think you can release yourself in the original game. I have to confirm that. I actually don't remember for sure, but I think you could just release yourself as if you're just another teammate. Like, it was that bad in the original game, if I remember correctly. I won't say that for sure. Don't take my word for it. Unless I confirm it and I have text on screen saying so. And I also do look forward to just seeing how they rework the visuals for the rest of the game. As well as rework the audio and especially the music. The music is probably the best part of the original game. The first game definitely has the best music of the series, in my opinion, while the second game had the best story, while also having very solid music alongside it. But given that the music is so good in the first game, I just can't wait to listen to the remixes. Or I guess they're more of a remaster than a remix, because they're very faithful to the original the sounds of the original song, but just a little bit clearer and some better instrumentation, while still having some original sound bites, I think. So yeah. I think I'll go ahead and just end it there. There's nothing more to say while the screen goes into rest mode or screensaver. I think that's it. Anyway, I hope this was at least educational. I didn't want this video to be a bash to this game, because I do look forward to this game. I want to play it. I want to enjoy it. I think I will enjoy it. Once I move past some of the more glaring issues, especially for someone like me that specializes in 3D in general, especially animation. It'll definitely be a hurdle, to say the least. So, yeah, anyway, I will see you guys later.